going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is the State of Wrestling, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? After a busy wrestling week and a huge fight and win for NXT, I'm pumped up to be here on a little later than usual State of Wrestling, unfortunately, but
life
coming
happens.
to you in an action-packed end of weekend edition. And what a lot of list of topics we have to go through. You and I and the lucky few that listen, I'm telling you guys, you're glad you chose this one because we're stacked with wrestling news from top to bottom and a lot of opinions too.
And it's more random than usual as well. Like we're all over the map with this, but I am going to go to the free advertising right off the bat. Everybody, if you want to hear us talk more specifically about NXT in the 2300 arena, I can speak, I swear. Go back over to Jake's channel. Countdown ended. We did a live review of that show, and Jake kind of let us know what happened on the Mud show because nobody was really watching, apparently. Having a lot of fun with that. Going to be more content coming out soon for you guys related to the live streams that we're doing over on Jake's channel, so pay attention to both of our channels for that. But having a lot of fun. Happy to have you here. Awesome to go hang out on your side of the internet as well. Had a lot of fun with the NXT show there.
We had a great time, and we were able to cover a lot, like you said, talk a little bit about even Dynamite and what they did and didn't do. I'm still baffled that Kenny Omega made his big return to the dome over there. He's not, he's going to make a return in New Japan.
Hey, spoiler, not the only time we're going to talk about a dome tonight.
Exactly. So you're excited about a dome as well, and it's dome not involving your high school sweetheart. So we're all about inclusivity here, but I don't know, having another company bring back your top talent just feels like a stab in the back level of betrayal. That's something Vince would do to his enemies. That's how that feels to me.
I will say right off the bat, I'll be nice to AEW to begin with. It does make sense in the sense that the two of them are co-promoting a pay-per-view right at the beginning of the year, and they were making an announcement for that. So not AEW, but AEW adjacent. I'm more so loving the feud between Kenny Omega and what's his name? Xavier Woods on Twitter.
Yes.
And outside of like AEW, WWE, ROH, NXT, outside of all that, I kind of want to see a Kenny Omega Xavier Woods match. It's not the biggest, most blockbuster thing out there, but I'm curious.
No, but that would be really good, though.
Like, we know the history, we know the gaming stuff and all that kind of thing. Kenny Omega's like, the be-all and end-all on one side, and Xavier Woods, even in his own faction, is the one guy that's never really got his due. So you could tell a really, really cool story right there.
And they have history together, them two
and the
argue
fact that
with
he
each
said
other.
Kenny Omega's still out with a tummy ache.
Yeah.
That's brutal. And it feeds into him, like, almost being a heel soon, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But he also did have history with Kenny. That's true. That's real.
You touched on the Wednesday Night War, and we touched on the review for NXT. Again, go check out Countdown Ended. I'm going to keep doing it.
Yes.
We did win. I don't know about you, because I think we were feeling pretty celebratory the next day. I'm not celebrating this one as much as I've celebrated the other ones, and I don't know if you're in the same with that. I kind of predicted they would win, so it's not, oh my god, I hope they win, oh my god, I hope they win, oh my god, they won. I kind of predicted they would win. They were doing a special show, to be fair.
Special show, not on their normal night, so that's why people thought they'd really have a...
Okay, here again is where I have to give a little bit of leeway to AEW, only in the sense of when they go forward a night to Tuesday, there's no getting those viewers back. Like, if those viewers tune in Wednesday, oh shit, it was yesterday. If NXT's viewers tune in on Tuesday and think, oh, there's no NXT. Oh, wait, it's tomorrow? Okay, cool.
It's tomorrow, we still have a chance.
NXT can get those viewers back, AEW can't. So there's a little bit of
leeway. Very good point.
There's a little bit of leeway I want to give AEW because, give the credit where it's due or criticisms become worthless. That's what I kind of try to do. But also, like, NXT won, but their numbers still wasn't great. And they
wasn't, sadly.
And they beat AEW, but AEW's number was terrible. Like, it's I've got it in front of me. It's 619K to 523K, right?
Yeah.
If we're gonna have a victory like that, don't get me wrong. I'm an NXT guy. You're an NXT guy. I'm happy that we won.
Yeah, certainly.
But I'm not as surprised. It was kind of a foregone conclusion. And if we're going to beat Dynamite, I'd rather beat Dynamite when they have a good number 2. Because right now, saying this as respectfully as I possibly can, right now it feels like we're kicking a dog.
Especially...
So it's not...
that dog that needs to be put down, it has that feel of...
Yeah, like, who did you beat? Like, you get a couple of NBA players that go in and face a high school basketball team and they win. Okay, sure, they won. We kind of predicted that. Nobody's making money on those bets.
Yeah,
and
but
who
then
did you beat?
Find out it was the special needs team that was competing, and they won 54 to -2. I mean, they even lost a basket.
Oh, no. They literally lost the basket. Somebody stole it. It's out in the parking lot.
That's what I'm saying.
Out
they were
in the
chewing
NXT,
on it.
But out in the NXT parking lot
it,
is the most dangerous place to be in the world.
Yeah.
So I want to be honest about how I'm feeling about it, but also I want to be fair that, NXT won, but NXT's numbers was crap, too. Dynamite's were worse. Dynamite has been on a downslide. I almost don't have it in me to mock it this time around, if you know what I mean. Last year, I think I reshared the podcast that I did last year. Remember when they did the NXT, and they had Cena on there, they had Heyman on there, they had Undertaker on there.
They brought everybody in.
And
Braun Breaker and Taker,
on the other side of the coin, Tony Khan was taking wide swings because he thought like booking an anti-Semitism angle would be the key thing. Like, everybody was swinging for high numbers there. Everybody swings for high numbers and you win, that's a big victory. If everybody's swinging low and you manage to swing just above the other low guy,
you're doing bad.
I'm sorry.
Still.
I do want to say I'm with our side. I'm with the Platinum brand, but this isn't as big a win as even people on our side think it is.
No, and the people are making it out to sound like it's this big to do, and it's a win.
Still happy they won, but
absolutely. But hey, as we said before, a win's a win, and baby, we won, and that's what it comes down to. Do the
Toretto thing. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, and I do agree with that.
Tony D agrees too. We had a really good night on NXT.
We did, and I thought we had a lot of fun. Not everything was perfect, obviously.
No, I mean, just going over like the quick things. There wasn't a bad match. Jada Parker, Lola Vice with Dawn
awesome.
Marie. I really liked it. Everyone ended up being built up, and both women looked really strong. Like, it was a strong effort from both of them.
And they chose the right main event.
Good, clean finish, too.
Yep.
I mean, Parker runs the ropes, and she got the elbow strike, pins her, 1, 2, 3. And referee was not really into the finish in any way. She was good in moments, but it wasn't anything we had to miss or complain about. It wasn't a miss. Then we had Wesley, Javon Evans. These two speedy-ass bastards didn't catch their breath once. They just kept going and going. And then it all came down to be a surprise from RVD, who's distracting Wesley. That leads to Javon getting the win. Love that. RVD out there posing. So we were wondering, like, is he injured? Can he not compete? Is this setting up a match, or is he going to have to be in someone's corner? Either way.
Well, the same rumors were swimming around this week, because remember initially the rumor was that Lita was going to be involved too, and then wasn't for whatever reason. Now, whether the rumor was never true in the first place, we don't know. Not our business. But
the latest TNA, member to reach their Hall of Fame, Rhino, had a little moment afterwards against Stone. That was cool. Great. Good, solid,
Robert
cheap
Stone,
heat,
Credit has to go to Robert Stone. He's such a good goober for getting his ass kicked for a comedy moment. We got the announcement about Deadline. You and I talked about that at length over on your channel. I'm glad that the Iron Survivor is becoming the December tradition. I'm glad that NXT is the PLE to end off the year. Because
that's such a difficult match to basically script and to call, because there's so many moving parts. Because it's like, oh yeah, I want this guy to be pinned then, but now he can't get any more pinfalls because he's out for 90 seconds. But I need him to get. So you really have to have all your places and pieces in place. A lot of mise en place, a lot to go around and get prepared. And I'm telling you, it's easy to fall to shit. We saw it happen in the chamber several times now, where someone gets injured or a spot gets mixed up. A la RVD, crushing Triple H's larynx, or Jeff Hardy screwing up to a couple of spots, or people not being able to get out of their pod.
But here's where they have an advantage to play with, and here's where, if you decide that it's the December tradition, you're not going to kill that gimmick the rest of the year. Like, you're not going to kill it like a Hell in the Cell or a cage match or a regular ladder match or whatever. And it's a new enough concept that it's going to be a while before we say, oh, okay, it's Iron Survivor. They're going to do this spot and this spot and this spot. Like, it's new enough. It's the best. People mentioned something from AEW as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think the Iron Survivor is the best new concept that either company has come up with in ages.
Yeah.
That has potential
to actually... TNA included.
Well, yeah. I can't remember the last time TNA came up with a brand new match concept, though. I'll be
honest.
New
match, new idea, new anything, but it's
the best new idea that they've come up with that has longevity to be like, okay, this is a thing we can run with. This is something that will stay in our Rolodex of if somebody needs a special stipulation, this is it. But I do really like, because there's no... We talked about it for most of the year when we saw the schedule come out, and it's like there's no WWE pay-per-view or PLE in December at all. Like, there's one right at the end of November, and then you've got the stretch to February because Rumble's in February this year.
Yeah, because they're holding that back.
But I mean, you've got that December spot, which is kind of being shared because you're doing Saturday night's main event, which, I'm sorry, they're saying it's going to be like a pay-per-view, but it's not.
Pay-per-view quality shows, so
but it's on NBC. It's on NBC, but like simulcast on the WWE network, whatever. So that'll be it'll be one of those. It's something off in the corner. I think they'll kind of look at it like a crown jewel without the politics.
The fact it's on NBC though doesn't deter me, dissuade me, any of that in any way.
I'm sure it'll be good, but it's not a pay-per-view if you put it on TV.
Times, it's going to add to it.
So if you wipe that off the slate, what it really does mean, and it's not the first time it's happened, is the very last bit of WWE premium programming that you're going to get is from NXT. And I have a feeling, like we touched on your channel, I have a feeling because Rumble is technically in February this year, we might get New Year's Evil as a proper pay-per-view in January.
Yeah, might. It certainly could happen.
So that's putting NXT in two pretty precarious spots of not only are we letting you end the year, we might potentially be letting you begin the year as well.
Yeah. Which is huge.
If I can switch topics for a second, once we get past the Survivor Series in November, once we get past Deadline in December, once we get past whatever's in January, Rumble in February, there's Elimination Chamber in March.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be in the UK. It was rumored to be going back to Australia. But no, UK, no Australia. You can't have it. Because it's coming back to my backyard. It's coming to Toronto, which is awesome enough. Another gimmick pay-per-view, check it off my Spaz bucket list, it's fine. But they're coming to the fucking Dome. Yes, it's
the Dome.
It's technically called the Rogers Center now. Everybody suck my dick. It's the Sky Dome. And I'm saying this on the auspice.
It is what it is. You know what it is.
I'm saying this on the auspice of they haven't been in the Sky Dome in 23 years. Since WrestleMania 18, since Rock versus Hogan, which I was there for. 23.
Yeah, that was your introduction into live wrestling.
More than half my life ago.
Crazy to think it was that long. That's the shirt hanging up behind you when you do the live shows.
It is, absolutely. It doesn't fit me
jersey,
anymore.
I should say.
It doesn't fit me anymore, I'll tell you that for free.
18 years has not been kind.
No, 23, not 18. 23 years ago.
That's right. My goodness, my math.
But,
I was making you out to
no,
be
it's
younger,
WrestleMania 18. That's what you were thinking of. But it's going to be back in the Dome. That's going to be a wall of sound. Here's the thing. The cool bonus thing of doing stuff at the Sky Dome is we open up the top and that's all cool. It's all big motorized roof and all that. I almost hope they don't open the top. Because if they open up the top, all the sound is going to go out. No, I want that big fucking wall of sound.
That boom again.
I'm not a rich person. I'm probably going to be in the nosebleeds again. I only paid $100 to go to WrestleMania 18. Can you imagine?
It's incredible that you made it there at all at that price.
Yeah. Well,
nowadays you can't even lick the boot of somebody that walks in the door for $100.
Oh no, for sure. Nosebleed seat. I actually bought the ticket off of somebody else that wasn't able to go. They paid $80 for it. I'm like, sure, I'll pay $100. Whatever.
They were selling tickets for seats that were literally, without exaggeration, behind the entrance stage.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So you could see a very half angle of the ring, but everything else, you couldn't see the entranceway, you couldn't see the Tron.
If I could explain it to you, I'm going back 23 years. But if you can imagine that big 23 years ago at 18, I'm going back 23 years. If you can picture like the large skeletal like gridwork looking Titantron they had on that entrance that year, I could see the ring perfectly, but I was right at the side of that, so I could see everybody right before they walked through the curtain. That was the angle I was looking at things at.
Which is a great angle for you, especially being your first show.
It is kind of cool to see,
better.
but at the same time, like there's a little bit of the like don't spoil the magic trick. Don't show me what's in the magician's hat. It's funny because up until this year at Money in the Bank, I've always ended up with that type of thing, like always right to the side of I'm looking right at the Titantron.
Where they used to sell the cheap tickets at. That was always
cheaper,
yeah. They're lower tiers. That's where they would put them at.
But it means I never see the Titantron, and I get a really I don't want to say bad, but a different view of somebody's entrance. I get to see them walk the trail rather than them trying to come towards us. But the Dome, here's the thing, and
it's cool because call-outs before they happen too, like when people get ready to go out.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't paying attention to that much granular detail back then. But
no, but I've sat there since at a Raw and at a SmackDown as well. I was at the Raw where Edge announced his retirement. That's where I sat way off, so we couldn't see the Titantron of the stage. We could see the ring and see him coming up the back, but that was it.
Now,
as you were saying, though,
here's where we have to draw the line between announcements and rumor, because WWE themselves have only announced Chamber at the Dome. They haven't announced any other associated shows. But all the rumors circulating around are that we're going to get what we got from Money in the Bank. We're going to get a SmackDown, and then we're going to get an NXT associated pay-per-view, which is cool.
Which is great, yeah.
But apparently they're going to use all three venues in Toronto.
Which I think is very interesting. Why not?
We're going to have Skydome for the main pay-per-view. Go back to Scotiabank Arena for SmackDown. That makes enough sense. But we're going to go to the Coca-Cola, if the rumor is true, we're going to go to the Coca-Cola Coliseum, formerly known as the Rico, for the NXT show, if there's an NXT show. Now, for people out there that don't know, the Rico is where WWE does their house shows. WWE also did their first Roadblock in that venue. That venue is also the venue where AEW did their first ever Canadian Dynamite. Smaller venue, makes sense. I can tell you from being at Money in the Bank weekend that Heatwave did not sell as well, and I'm on this side of the argument, so I can actually admit that. Put it in a smaller building, condense the sound, condense the crowd. I think it's brilliant if it's true. If it's not true and all we're getting is the pay-per-view, I don't care. I'm going back to the Dome in 2025. It's going to be fucking great. It'd be
nice for people to get more into NXT, because, I mean, we didn't even finish explaining what happened the rest of this week. And really, the last, and think of it, was just a trick, and Bubba lost to Ethan and Ridge. And then what? We had Tony D'Angelo against Nunzio.
Which was fun.
And after that, we had the women's 10-woman tag, which was great, obviously. And we talked a lot about that in the other show. But all in all, that's the full summary of it. We had a great time.
And there was bullshit and nonsense on
Absolutely,
AEW.
but it all sets that up in the future for NXT, is where AEW, I don't really see where a lot of things are going. They're missing a main element of enjoyment, which is story. And one of the ways that
they're missing a main element of enjoyment, which is crowd. That's a thing.
But no, that is very true. But here's the thing. We saw something Friday night, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, but I wanted to kind of lay it out first. In AEW the other day, when Private Party won those tag team titles for the first time in over 5 years, Cassidy was on the main ramp trying to get the Young Bucks back into the ring, and all of a sudden Okada comes out, and he goes and he grabs him and he gives him a freaking tombstone pile driver, jumping somewhat. He's supposed to be leaping, but he barely moves. It looks so terrible, but he's still on the steel ramp, a tombstone pile driver. And not even 40 seconds later, he's back up to break up the pinfall from his brother in the ring. As where Kevin Owens surprisingly gave Randy Orton a single sit-down pile driver, like a pullback one.
Yep.
And now Randy is hospitalized, and they're claiming that he has actual issues right now. They're releasing his medical diagnosis. And it was one pile driver. Mm-hmm. One single. The fans are going nuts. That's why this move is banned. They get to play up on the fact of
that it was really banned for a while.
That it was legitimately banned. That it broke Steve Austin's neck and limited his career. They said right now Randy Orton is diagnosed with a cervical cord neuropraxia. And the neuropraxia, following the vicious attack on SmackDown from Kevin Owens. There's no timetable in his return. So that keeps him out a little bit from challenging Cody. But what was your take on this pile driver and moment? Because I think the sell job from Randy moaning to the way Owens snapped, all of it was incredible.
Okay, I'm going to be annoying here. For my fellow WWE fans, I'm going to be a little bit annoying here for a second. There is a story with Randy Orton's neck. We know that he was out for a year and a half. We know that he took a hell of a, not a match, but a beating and some pretty hard bumps at Crown Jewel. That combined with the neck issues we know we already have, it's very easy to believe that a pile driver on him is going to be like devastating and catastrophic more than the regular person. That's as far as I'll go as far as explaining the difference. Anybody getting up from a pulling pile driver on the floor to get back in the match is fucking stupid. So there is a reason for the difference, but the reason doesn't excuse it. I'm walking the line on this one a little bit. You have to look at it through a different filter when you're watching AEW, because AEW basically does everything to excess. Stapling pictures to people's foreheads is a thing.
Yeah, and that's supposed to invoke severe rage and disgust, but not in the way they're expecting.
Yeah, well, it's evoking boredom, because that's we said it before we came on today. Like, the whole staple thing is a spot that should be cool, but not the 10th time. So exactly. when you have to compare the two, you have to remember, like, AEW exists in excess. They're doing the Howard Stern take wide swings at everything and hope somebody pays attention, which, not gonna lie, it is a tactic. I don't know if it's working for them, but it is a legitimate tactic.
It's something worth trying.
So the filter with which you're watching it, now you're right. The comparison between the two is mind-boggling. But I do think we are at a point where you literally have to watch WWE and AEW through a different filter. And that's mostly to AEW's detriment at this point.
Sadly, because they're treating wrestling like an entertainment like it's supposed to be in WWE.
AEW, like, and here's the thing.
They want to make it a real sport in AEW, but yet they don't sell anything.
Developmental talent in NXT, and sometimes this is correct, I'll be fair, they look like they're going through their training drills more than they are going through a match. Like, they're working on structuring a match, timing, pacing.
Exactly. They're counting moves out loud.
Where are they putting their feet? Okay, I've taken this move. Okay, get ready for the next move. That is an accusation that is thrown at NXT. Sometimes true, most of the time not true. I think it's overdone in the accusation. It's completely ignored when the so-called veterans of AEW are doing it and doing it more.
Like Jericho.
I don't care. Jericho pisses everybody off on both sides, so I'm kind of with Jericho.
Granted, but you know what? He does it all the time where you hear him loudly call spots.
Oh, yeah.
Loudly.
Yeah, he's. I think Jericho, and people are going to hate this on both sides. I understand that you're going to hate what I'm about to say. I think Jericho is AEW's John Cena.
Yeah,
totally scripted.
Every man.
Totally scripted to be oblivious to the hate that he's receiving. Yeah. Almost intentionally bad, calling the spots and then denying that the spots were ever called.
Well, still being that superior company man, which he is.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because that's what Tony wants. He wants a John Cena. Hmm? He needs a person there that's going to be his loyal, because he knew how loyal John was to Vince. That's what Tony needs from somebody, to be that loyal.
But I didn't think about it until like earlier this week. He really is their John Cena. Like, he's playing this obnoxiously oblivious to everybody doesn't like me, the same way John Cena for a long time played totally oblivious to the fact that people wanted him to turn heel. They wanted him to do something different. He's like, no, I'm going to give you more of the same. And then he even made the joke one day where he came out and he turned his leg in the middle of the ring. It's like, is this the heel turn? Is this the heel turn you wanted? Weirdly, Chris Jericho...
That ingratiated us to him, yeah.
Yeah.
Jericho's not getting that.
But weirdly, Chris Jericho is doing that because I think...
I think his isn't working to me, but I think his is so
But this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the part of John Cena that didn't work either.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll just keep being a babyface and push on through, and eventually they'll like me. And eventually we did. Like, let's be clear.
Eventually we did like him. That's what I'm saying. Cena learned how to ingratiate the audience and make us miss him.
I'm comparing it to, like, when it wasn't a trying to make it work thing. It was just WWE saying...
It was an annoyance.
This is the babyface whether you like it or not. Well, Chris Jericho is a heel saying, I'm the babyface whether you like it or not. When he comes like, hey, guys, and all that. So I wouldn't have drawn the comparison between the two of them until this week when I started thinking about it in those terms. But in those terms,
they're one and the same.
I do like watching Jericho wind people up, and it's one of those things where people who don't like AEW are using it as a stick to beat AEW with, and people who do like AEW are like, get the fuck out of my company. So he's pissing off everybody equally. He's an equal opportunity offender, is what he is.
Yeah, he's making everybody mad at this point, like you said. And that's kind of the reason why I feel like it's not working, because I feel like he's just hurting Ring of Honor. He's hurting their title. Hurting what exactly? But here's
the thing, though. I will say, and I don't think this is their intention. I just think it's the same way things worked with John Cena for the longest time. If Mark Briscoe wasn't already ridiculously over, the fact that he has to endure this Jericho booking is got more people behind him than before.
True.
Kind of like any heel.
Same thing that happened with Orange Cassidy. Same thing that happened with Moxley. Same thing that happened with on and on and on.
But
everybody that works with Jericho.
Any heel you put against John Cena for the longest time got cheered.
Oh, see, exactly.
Go to Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. That's
one of the best examples you can give.
Where I kind of thought of it as, okay, this is not CM Punk versus John Cena. This is the fans versus the company.
Exactly, the fans versus the McMahon.
But I think the thing about that is Jericho doesn't. He's a heel according to the company, and the fans don't like him. So it is one of those situations where I can be like, yeah, this is kind of crap, but it's also widening. It's Daniel Bryan 18 seconds at WrestleMania. Objectively, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, that was very bad.
Objectively, that was a bad idea. But watching the community melt down, especially because I couldn't really stand Daniels at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good
was
wrestler.
The design of the character.
He's always been a good wrestler. I'm not taking that away.
Yeah. But you didn't watch Ring of Honor with him, right?
No.
See,
but he just wasn't for me at the time. I thought he was being booked
you didn't have that type of... You didn't know who he was as a wrestler at that time. You didn't have a real...
Well, there was that, but it was also like he was getting a bit of Cena booking that nobody wanted to admit.
Yeah.
Like he was getting a different
kind of Cena. He was getting a lot of
like
benefits.
The WrestleMania with... And yes, it was a wonderful, fantastic moment, Yes-Mania and all that kind of thing. But, like, he went in with Triple H at the beginning of the night, already injured, took a beating from Triple H, got beaten by a sledgehammer, got nutshotted by Stephanie, barely walked out alive, walked into another triple threat match the same night with a fresh Randy Orton and a fresh Batista, and won.
I made that same Super Cena comparison on Joe's show for WrestleMania 30 because people were calling me, oh, you just hate Daniel Bryan. And I was like, well, it is like that because...
Okay, tell that story beat for beat with John Cena and tell me people wouldn't have been doing their, I'm canceling my network or whatever.
Yeah, because Cena did the same thing all that time back when he was in the I Quit match with Orton. They had him handcuffed to the ropes. And you had DiBiase and Rhodes come out, and they all beat the hell out of him with what was his
should have just cracked him with a shaved down chair. That would have fixed everything.
I guess that would have been his ultimate defeat, but my God, nothing worked. I mean, they beat him and strapped him up against the ropes like Christ, but crucified the man, and it led to him still getting the submission victory. He made Orton tap out to an STF with a chain about a mile long. Like it stains my brain.
One of the worst things ever is I think it was a Falls Count Anywhere match with Wade Barrett, and they had it was at TLC because they had all the chairs hanging from the entranceway, and he brought down that big string of chairs onto Barrett, except it wasn't onto Barrett. He was like hiding under a frame very obviously.
Exactly. Those moments, like the Kane one was bad too. Remember when Braun buried Kane? That looked bad.
Oh my God, yeah.
Braun had quite a few too. Like one of the truck flips looked really good, but one of them looked terrible. It was like a SWAT-looking truck that looked really bad.
But see, the thing, I'll give them a free pass with Braun though, because Braun is one of those monsters that they're almost portraying like a cartoon monster.
Yeah, like a super monster.
Yeah,
exactly.
And once you're going that way, you can accept a little bit of, okay, this is ridiculous, but it fits.
But see, I was okay with
not
ridiculous.
John Cena.
Just make it look less Hollywood bullshit and more better produced. You know what I mean? Make it look more believable. You want to make him look that strong? I don't care if he lifts up an entire battle tank up against the wall. Just make him look like he's lifting it, not the lift you have underneath.
Just make sure in his next match he's not struggling to lift the steel steps.
Fucking exactly, Spaz. You got it.
The universal argument among all wrestling fans: how heavy are those stairs? Really?
Yes. How heavy are they? Because I'll be telling you, doesn't feel right.
I mean, ask Drew McIntyre's lower back, but speaking
He'll
of which,
they're certainly sharp. I'll believe that.
Speaking of which, I do want to take a detour and talk about some unfortunate injuries, and a couple of these are a few. Almost a week later. So we touched on the Rhea Ripley stuff before. Rhea Ripley beaten down in the parking lot on NXT 2 weeks ago was to cover up the fact that she legitimately has an orbital bone issue in her face. So they beat her up on NXT so that she wouldn't have to travel out of the city to do the beatdown angle. They worked it into NXT. They had her congratulate her friend Zarya for her debut, which was awesome and a really feel-good moment in what I'm sure is not a very nice time for her. As far as I've seen, there's no schedule for her return yet. They're already contemplating how do we fit her into Mania, but nothing before then, which tells me she might not even be in the Rumble.
It really feels that way, unfortunately.
But if it takes it to Elimination Chamber and she wins at Elimination Chamber and I happen to be there because Chamber's in the Dome, I mean,
you're happy.
But no, in all seriousness, like we praised it a couple weeks ago for being a really good angle, and it turns out to be a real thing. And like, don't fuck with your eyes, man. Like, talk about all kinds of other injuries: break your hand, break your foot, break your shin. None of those are good. Don't fuck with your eyes, man. Like that's you can't come back from that.
You're really not
wrong. The articles recently on No DQ saying that Natalya has been dealing with partial blindness for like 5 years, and it's like what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like you wouldn't be able, and I mean, people shit on Natalya, and WWE never really gives us a reason to give a shit about her either. But when you see her, you couldn't tell that she was having any problems, and B, she's only helping other people.
Exactly.
So you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that stuff. I wasn't aware of that at all.
I've never been a big Natalya Mark supporter, fan, however you want to put it. But I always appreciated her for what she did, like for women's wrestling, for women in general. And her merits can't be denied. She just wasn't for me. Like, I never liked her character.
I like when they bring her out in Canada because there's obviously the family connection there, but also
a heart in Canada is a heart in Canada.
Yeah. But also you get that genuine, like, she's happy to be there thing, and that's that other side that we talk about all the time. Are the wrestlers having a good time? If the wrestlers are having a good time.
And as fake as she is, I always believe that she is truly happy to be there. Like, she feels like she genuinely, like, respects the fan, likes being there, likes being involved. Like, all of that feels legitimate to me.
Oh, yeah. And it's like we say, too, like, to a certain... And all of this is to a certain degree, but it's like, there's a lot that I can forgive if I can watch TV and see that the wrestlers are having a good time.
No, totally.
My tired example is John Cena and Nikki Bella versus Miz and Maurice.
Yeah,
okay. It's not the biggest match on the card, but Miz and Cena are clearly friends, and they're out there and they get to have WrestleMania moments with their respective partners at the time.
They work well together. You're going to get something comparable and decent and fun, and they're enjoying themselves. What's the problem?
But that was way back before Nikki Bella became Amber Heard Bella.
Yeah. So throwing shoes.
We don't need to go there. We don't need to go there. And the other one, the one that's really, really scary, is switching over to TNA. Is Chris Bay.
Throwing shoes and donuts isn't scary? I'd be scared of that.
Oh my goodness! But Chris Bay, though, in all honesty.
Oh god! Everybody reaching out is great to help him, and any flack anybody gets for not donating enough, if they didn't donate themselves, and who are they to say anything?
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, Tony has billions. He didn't donate enough. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's not anyone that works for him. He did this out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah.
That's why you shouldn't even be able to see the donations. Like, yeah, you can make it anonymous, but then you get people who be like, oh, well, how come you didn't donate? And then so it's better just to leave it open, they think. But there should be no obligation.
And the thing about it is too is he did come out and say, and I think Matt Hardy has done a lot of talking on his behalf because obviously he's busy recovering and whatever. But it's like let's be clear, all of his medical stuff is fully being covered by TNA. The GoFundMe's and all that are out there now are just to support
months
the rest
without work.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like his lost wages and his medical stuff are all being covered by TNA. The rest of it is just like
there's more than just TNA for him for an indie wrestler.
Yeah. Well, taking care, but it's taking care of your family stuff as well. It's just like we want to give him the biggest cushion possible.
Yeah, there's other bills that come in, and they don't all equal what he gets in TNA, I'm sure. No, and then the medical on top of it leaves you. A lot of times when you get paid those things, you get paid 2/3 your pay, not the full amount. So then you have to worry about, oh God, well, how much can we spend? Do we have enough for groceries? Whatever it might be. You don't want to be stressed with a broken freaking neck.
Right, exactly. Well, you're stressed enough, but I'm going to say it now, and if I remember to do it, hopefully Jake will remind me later on. I'm going to try and find the link to that GoFundMe, and I'm going to put it in the information section of this video, of this podcast, whatever. If anybody listening to me wants to throw anything in there, I've thrown a couple bucks in there.
We try to help out.
Let's try to help out as much as we can.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts.
The crazy thing about it is, as well, like, obviously because the shows are all pre-taped, right? So you can see where they have sort of like jammed something in rather than something that was part of the show. They are flooding the show. I watched this week's and last week's. They are flooding the show with interspersed little, hey, this guy's selling a T-shirt for Chris Bay. Go support this.
That's good. See, that's the best part about TNA currently.
Cardona and Myers are doing like action figure auction stuff to help Chris Bay. We have this T-shirt on TNA shop, but also here's the GoFundMe. Like it's all the way through the show, and I think that's great. And the wrestling community is shitty sometimes, but we come together for shit like this. Hopefully,
no, you're absolutely right. They come together when it's important.
But yeah, no, but I just want to say, and it doesn't matter. Like stubbing your toe or tripping on the way to the ring could hurt somebody.
Pain is pain, yeah.
But it's crazy to me that at Bound for Glory, was it Bound for Glory or was it the previous show?
I think it was Bound for Glory.
It was Bound for Glory. They went through that insane three-way ladder Full Metal Mayhem tag title match where the Hardys got the belts and all that sort of thing, and I marked out for that. That's a separate conversation. They went through all that, and then he goes into the tapings the next night, and from what I've heard, I haven't seen it because obviously they didn't televise it, just the most innocuous regular match, and he just comes down the wrong way after the hell he went through the day before. It's that kind of irony that kicks you in the balls.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt about it. It's that stuff that gets you.
So just if it's not, I mean, I think I know Vikingo did something to his leg on that show as well. It was one of those like one bad news after another type of thing. So Vikingo, Chris Bay, Rhea Ripley. I mean, it's not a new thing, but Natalya dealing with her vision stuff is fucking crazy.
It's scary, you know. Like we didn't your vision.
We didn't really get to talk about it, but. Tegan Nox, Indy Hartwell, Baron Corbin that just recently were released from WWE. A lot of people to keep in our hearts and in our minds and have good wishes for.
Yeah, and Indy made it seem like she didn't know until she found out on Twitter. I'm assuming that was a joke. Hopefully that's not that. Yeah, she's come back and said that was good. Sarcastic. Yeah, I figured it would be because
Baron Corbin's been pretty vocal. Baron Corbin's been pretty vocal on Twitter about, like, people just going, oh my god, I can't believe they dropped the ball with you again, and he's just, all his responses are like, yep, I concur, I agree.
Yeah, what's he supposed to say, you know?
Well, yeah, exactly.
He doesn't hate WWE.
A lot of people leave in the nice way, and they're like, no, I thank WWE for everything they gave me. No, he's just coming out, I agree. So
yeah. I mean,
apparently there is a Corbin Club shirt already on Pro Wrestling Tees that looks pretty decent with the motorcycles and all that kind of thing.
That's cool.
They're not even really connected that well. I would love to see him and Dijak connect on something.
Some level, yeah.
Be like either a rivalry or a short-term tag team or something along those lines.
Yeah, there's got to be something they can.
I don't know. I mean, Indy was with Candice LeRae, who was getting involved with the title picture on SmackDown. So it's crazy because they did the pre-taped SmackDown that they released her, and then the next night on SmackDown was the last match she was in.
Yeah, and she's out there wrestling. Meanwhile, she's gone.
Yeah,
I know. That was
it's like the same when they released Tenille Dashwood, Emma in WWE, and she had literally just come out to say, "Hey, I can't believe Elimination Chamber's coming to Australia," and then not even an hour later, never mind.
Hey, never mind.
I mean, that's like sad sarcasm. But,
and that's what ingratiates the audience to her even more, because they're like,
I've met her. She was nice as hell.
I met her too with Danny.
You can take a wild guess where I met her.
I don't know which bucket list I could check that off of.
I'm still buzzing off the fact that I met Simon Miller. That was really cool.
That's worth really more than any JBL autograph, okay?
JBL autograph for $80. Fuck.
Insane. I thought it was 60 at first. 80 is even more insane.
No. Instead, I got photos and autographs and whatnot with Casey Navarro and Nymph Alaribi. I'm going to teach myself how to pronounce her name properly. It's the former Aaliyah.
I did not know that was actually her name. I was like, wait, what's a?
Yeah.
Like, it was just, apparently it is. Took me off guard.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask.
It's not a bad name or anything. It just took me off guard. The spelling, the pronunciation, all of it.
Well, that was my thing too. Is like, you can say something and say that it's hard to pronounce without being a dick about it. And I've met her twice now, and I was like, I just want to not be a dick. Surprisingly. Yeah. But yeah, so lots of people leaving, lots of people taking time off that will be back eventually. With the Rhea Ripley thing, I know you can't really plan an injury, but if you're going to be away for a while and make us miss you, like, now isn't a terrible time.
What sucks with Rhea too is first she gets hurt, but again, but recently I'm saying she gets hurt and it's a backstage segment. She launches herself into the wall too hard. Now she headbutts somebody too hard and she injures her eye socket. Like, she's her own worst enemy, and it's not a great track record for her at this point.
And of course the other side has to come around and be like, oh, I guess WWE isn't such a safe place after all. It's like, okay, please look in your own backyard.
Yeah, don't start that.
Please look in your own backyard. All I'm saying, nobody wants. Okay, even AEW, take somebody I can't stand. Like the Bucks or Hangman or whatever, I'm still not going to wish that they have their face caved in.
No, certainly not. No one is.
And I mean, with the stuff Hangman's
doing,
of
us are going to say that.
Yeah, even like you look at the stuff that people are defending with Hangman and Swerve, and yeah, I'm going back a couple of months now, but with the needles and the bricks and all that shit and the unprotected chair shots or whatever, it's like, yeah, you might have gotten out of it this time because you were lucky this time. Nobody's saying wrestling is safe, but don't get on people that are trying to come up with ways for wrestling to be a little bit safer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
people are trying here. What are you doing?
The ECW show for NXT wasn't as hardcore as the old ECW. It's like, yeah, because we don't want people to die.
How dare you?
It's not that hard. But with the news of people leaving, which is incredibly sad, we do have to turn the page. That's a horrible transition to people coming in with the WWE ID program and a couple. I want to have a conversation about WWE ID versus the NIL program, because I think they're two halves of the same whole. But I think we've already kind of done that.
Different parts of that puzzle.
A couple interesting tidbits that I grabbed from No DQ though, and they are crediting it to postwrestling.com, so all the credit in all the places that it deserves to be in. A couple different things to note here: there are no restrictions to talent in the WWE under WWE ID deals, doing jobs and taking shows and other bookings. They asked about doing AEW extra work specifically. We were informed that WWE will not prevent these talents under WWE ID contracts from doing extra work on AEW when it comes to talents losing on other shows, and WWE trying to have a hand in on that. It's greatly relaxed under the new regime. And then the only way
it will be is if they're champions. I heard that there'll be restrictions.
But they're not going to be, if they're in the WWE ID program, they're not going to be champions because they're not even on NXT yet. Yeah. But they point to the TNA relationship as the best example. They look at people like Brindley Reese and Wendy Chu on the most recent TNA tapings taking losses, and WWE really not having a huge, gigantic issue with that. So
or
yes,
yes,
they can still take bookings elsewhere. No, they don't need WWE's permission. Yes, they can even do extra work on AEW if they want. And no, WWE is not going to mess with those other promotions and try to have a hand on who's winning and who's losing on other people's respective shows. All good stuff. Oh, and the other thing, it hasn't been confirmed. It hasn't been confirmed yet if talents under WWE ID deals will have any medical expenses covered by the company or not, but it is said to be very much in talks.
Yeah,
so
they're
people
saying
that are
from
not
what I saw and read too, yeah, it's a possibility.
People that are not, we're talking about people's medical stuff potentially being covered or assisted by WWE before they're even WWE talents.
Yeah, they're just prospects at this point. So when they want to make it a little bit easier for you to keep learning and training and becoming a wrestler. They want to be able to make wrestling your full-time job.
But where they used to talk about the Performance Center and NXT being like, oh, this is just the WWE superstar factory, everybody comes out the same. No, they're saying, we want to help you. We want you to go as many places as possible, get as many different experiences as possible, and we're going to help you as much as we can. And even if you get hurt, even if it's not on our show, potentially. This is the biggest not handout as in like free handouts, but this is the biggest
helping handout.
But this is the biggest hand reached out into the developmental scene that we've seen.
The biggest scene we've ever seen on the scene.
Yeah. Well, I said
the scene.
When NXT first did the deal with TNA, and yes, it's 2 televised things, so they're the ones that are talked about more. But the biggest criticism was, okay, you go to the PC, you learn the NXT way, and then you go up onto NXT and do NXT. The biggest example I can think of is all their younger mid-card talent going to TNA. It's just a different ring. It's just a different set of opponents. It's just a different company. It's just a different audience, but it's different. It's totally breaking the mold of, oh, everybody WWE creates just comes out of a factory.
Yeah, which doesn't feel fair or right.
And I do think on top of that, on the other side of the coin, you do have the NIL program as well, and where you have athletes from other sports coming and learning about wrestling. With the WWE ID program, you have people that already know about wrestling, learning a bit of the WWE way, and still being encouraged to broaden their scope.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way in the next 5 years NXT is not the best version of NXT that we've had so far.
It has to only get better. I mean, remember everything we've seen happen, everything that we've seen take place, it only gets better. The wrestling gets better, the storytelling gets better, how they work together has gotten more together, concise. Yep. And I mean, really, we see it in Triple H's continued booking with NXT stars after they come to the main roster, as much as we see it with the way Shawn Michaels handles booking to build them for the main roster.
Yeah, because I think they've both come
There's consistency. We saw Ava on the main roster. We've seen both general managers from Raw and SmackDown. They've come over and talked on NXT. We've had these things go back and forth. Now we're getting people from both main roster shows making challenges.
It's the fact that both for NXT call-ups, and we've talked it to death, but I think the thing really is, back in the day when it was Vince and Triple H, you had Triple H running a super indie and Vince doing WWE superstar stuff. Then you had NXT go through its 2.0 phase where it was basically mini Raw, sports entertainment out the ass, and then you've pulled it back to about a halfway point. Triple H going up and now running the main roster, infusing a lot of the ideas that worked in the old NXT. The two ideas have never been closer together,
exactly.
as the identities of the shows, let alone the talent. So it makes such a great pathway. And if we've already got NXT Level Up, which is sort of like the dark matches of NXT. I don't watch Level Up, I'm not gonna lie, but
I don't either. So
now you have this.
I get told about it every now and again. People reach out and like,
this
match
if
was good.
If there's one good match, or if somebody on the regular roster goes down and has a really good match with a new up and comer, or whatever. But now you've got Raw and SmackDown. You go down to NXT. You go down to NXT Level Up. You go down to people that are in the PC, and before that, they're making their name on the indies, and WWE top to bottom is helping them now tell the whole story, bottom to top.
And the whole story, top to bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's really yes, there's the whole oh my god, they're milking the entire industry, and it's like okay, their direct competition can bring in WWE ID prospects.
Yeah. So what are you complaining about? That's what I don't understand.
I could have had a bit of it if they had gone the other way, but also WWE's making a hell of an investment. Why would they let their investment work against them? But they're not even doing that.
Yeah, that's the weird part. They're not even keeping them from doing anything. They're just telling them, hey, this is the deal. This is how it works. This is what you're signing up for.
Although what I would do
pretty much with
if I was Triple H, I don't think
they can work with AEW, but oh wait, they can. They're not being held back by anything, like you said. Here's
the thing, though, right? If you have somebody go over to Dynamite for a night and just be a jobber to somebody,
yeah.
A couple weeks later, have them come to Raw and have them be a jobber to somebody, and just and turn to them and just be like, "Isn't it nicer to perform in a full arena?"
Well, they have the choice. What do you like better? But no, like you said, you give them a taste of everything, and hey, they got to try you out. They don't like chocolate; they like vanilla.
And hey, you know what? If they
vanilla goes with everything,
I would hope that there would be a little bit of like friendly fire here. But like if somebody goes through the entire WWE ID program, gets offered a WWE contract and turns it down for whatever reason and says, okay, I had a couple extra spots over on AEW, let me talk to Tony, I think I'd rather go there, then has WWE not directly contributed to another generation of AEW superstars at that point?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Swerve Strickland was basically a product of theirs for a while. Yes, he was on the indies, but he was also used in such a way that got people to know who he is, what he does.
And on the other side of that, speaking of AEW and whatnot, one of the WWE ID certified training facilities is the Nightmare Factory.
Yeah.
So there is, while nobody at the top is going to acknowledge it, there is a little tiny beginning of a bridge.
Yes, with AEW. There certainly is. And a lot of that comes from Cody. Cody's relationship with QT, excuse me, his relationship with Ricky Starks, all these things that are coming to light.
Obviously his brother.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's a given. But I'm saying more than just a family name. He's got a lot of things to go through, to choose, to decide, to utilize.
I don't know. It's really, really... I don't want to sit here and say 100% that this is going to be awesome.
It certainly feels that way already, Spaz. It really does.
But it's got my attention. And it's one of those things, we talk about taking big swings. Even if this program is a swing and a miss, I'm still happy that we're in this place now where they're taking swings.
What would the miss be, though? That maybe they didn't give them enough money, or they didn't give them enough booking opportunities? But really, I don't see how this could be really a negative.
This is what
I'm thinking.
This is why I'm mostly optimistic.
Yeah,
because I don't see what the flaw would be.
But that's what I'm honestly thinking. Like, what's the negative that they could have here? What's the spin?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Is like sometimes you don't know what the flaw is until it happens. I can't come up with one off the top of my head. But even if some totally unforeseen thing comes and totally tips this program up on its ass in the first year, even if that happens, I'm still happy that they took the swing.
Unless there's a massive scandal or something corporate happens from like top to bottom and that affects this somehow, I see this, honest to God, being a win for everyone involved. You're getting money. You're getting your namesake.
I'll give you a really silly example, right?
It kind of needs to be, though, to fit this narrative.
It does. No, but
people are shitting all over it, and I can't fathom as to why.
Oh, because it's WWE. If Tony Khan announced AEW ID, he'd be God. Like
isn't that Ring of Honor?
No, Ring of Honor's its own thing. We just use most of the AEW talent. Anyway, I'll give you a really stupid example, though.
Yes.
I had a back and forth on Twitter earlier this week with former WWE referee Jimmy Corderas,
great guy.
who I go back and forth with on a couple of things on a regular basis because I ask him his opinions on things, and he's nice enough to give them to me.
I've talked to him quite a few times. He's a great guy.
But here's
to
the
talk
thing.
to.
They were talking about the cocaine indie wrestler thing, like the Kane ripoff that was all in white that did
That's gotta be cocaine. Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's awesome and it's terrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Personally, do I think it's good? Do I think that whole spot was good? No. I think it's pretty dumb. Corderas brought up the whole, like, the angle of, like, there's kids there. Kid's going to turn to his dad and say, oh, Dad, what's that about? Wholeheartedly agree, right? It's a shitty spot. It's dumb.
People say, oh, don't let your son watch wrestling then. Well, it's a fan. It's TV
but here's the
PG.
Thing. It was a dumb spot. But at the same time, it is a big shot in the arm for wrestling as an entertainment genre, follow me on this because I know it's going to sound dumb. It is a shot in the arm for wrestling as a genre, as a platform, as a whole, that wrestling is so open as an entertainment concept that somebody had that idea and didn't immediately think, oh, I can't do that, it's dumb. Somebody had that idea and knows that they're in wrestling, and wrestling is so open that they were able to say, you know what, hey, this dumb idea might work.
Yeah, this could work. This could happen.
So was the idea dumb? Yes, I think it was really fucking stupid. It was like the guy last year at the, what was it, GCW show that was doing lines during the interview or whatever. Stupid.
No, that was
stupid. Don't do it. Was it
MLW?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, and that was
Sinister Minister, was it?
Oh, the evil bastard. It's like a Paul Heyman, but not his name. I can't remember his name.
Yeah. Anyway, point of it being, were those specifically dumb? Yes. But I love that wrestling is so open that somebody with a dumb idea like that thought, hey, I'm in wrestling. Anything can happen in wrestling. Let's give this a swing. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Totally.
Because I feel like people think that I am like,
see, I don't hate the spot. I get the humor behind it. It just feels like 12-year-old humor, like, and unnecessary. Like, do something, like they even had Gane, Gayne, and it was the gay Kane the other day, and they were, oh my god, it's got to be Kane, and they were doing all gay things, and instead of doing the pyro, he does like the flamboyant like hand wave gesture.
Oh no!
So like the pyro goes to come down, and
I wouldn't back that either. But again, it's the whole wrestling can
funny,
be anything.
But it's like Dumb and Dumber humor from the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you watch that back now, you're like, oh god, I love this as a kid. But this movie did not age well. You know, PC culture be damned. There's still some things they shouldn't be saying in here.
Okay, but there's some things. There's some things that are revisited now because they deserve revisiting, and there's some things that are revisited
there's
just
something
because
to get
people want to bitch. Like,
that's what I'm saying. There's something to get from both of these performances. I think they're using the lowest common fruit / denominator. You know,
and that's the thing. Like, there's gonna be somebody out there that thought it was hilarious. As an outside, I liked Cocaine Bear as a movie. When I saw the ads for Cocaine Bear, I'm like, even if this movie sucks, I'm glad that it exists. Yeah. I'm kind of applying that to here, right? Did they take a swing with a dumb idea, and did it not work? Yeah, it didn't hit for me. I saw a bunch of different clips of it from a bunch of different people. Do I think it worked? No. I don't really know the company. I don't really know the context of the spot. That's on me. That's not on them. But also, it doesn't mean that I want to have the next guy with the next dumb idea be scared to try his next idea, because that dumb idea might be brilliant. That dumb idea might be the next, like, R-Truth. Or Shorty G, or something of that kind. Anyways, so that example I'm applying a little bit more seriously to the WWE ID program is, I think there's every single positive you can take out of this, but even if it falls on its face, like I say, I don't know how it would, I'm still glad they're trying. I'm still glad they're taking the swing. And if this doesn't work, they'll come up with a different recruitment plan.
Exactly. And you're like, well, shit. I mean, anything's possible. And we know that, you know, and that's the thing. Like, they could do something decent with it, but it depends on what they do and how they do it. And that's what really sucks. You know, it's like...
Speaking of anything being possible...
Yes.
Look at me with the transitions tonight.
You're nailing them.
Let's not make that into a joke. I want to talk about two different things. I want to talk about WWE in Europe, and I want to talk about WWE on Netflix.
Yes.
These two things might be coming together beautifully.
And sooner than we expected for some of it.
Oh, yeah. So they made the big announcement while they were touring over in the UK, I think last weekend, that the last 3 Raws and the last 3 SmackDowns before WrestleMania are all going to be over in the UK. I think it's like 11 cities in 9 different countries leading right into WrestleMania. Fucking fantastic, first of all. Now,
can't beat that, certainly.
Take that and do the whole time shifting thing. Oh, if that many episodes are happening in the UK, they're not going to have any ratings in the States because it's all going to be pre-taped. We're all going to know the answers. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as ratings because they'll be on Netflix by then.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be viewership numbers.
But Netflix has already intimated that whenever they go abroad now, like they do for the pay-per-views, they are very seriously considering just playing the Raw, SmackDown's going to be different for a little while. Playing the Raw, playing the SmackDown whenever it is, and it'll still be on the library when people get home from work and available and all that kind of thing. But I think that's awesome. I think that certainly is genuinely awesome. I think that if we get out of our own shoes for a second, being over here in North America, where we are pretty much spoiled by the timeline 99% of the time.
Yeah, and we get what's live and we don't miss out. So
yeah, I think the fact that it's catering more and more to, especially whatever city it's in, because if you're in, I don't know, London, stupid simple example, and wrestling is in your town tonight, and you weren't able to make it to the show, you can still, at the very least, flick on your TV and benefit a little bit from the fact that you don't have to get up and watch it at 3 a.m. or whatever time it is. I think it's awesome. I think
people are going to enjoy having that freedom again.
I think people that are freaking out about this are even more than us, way too linked into the ratings conversations and the network conversations and whatever that we're used to.
Yeah, but they're going against that way too hard, like you said. So,
but also on the other side of the coin, it's going to be on Netflix, so it's not like they're taking it from a time slot. The whole beauty of Netflix is they can literally put things wherever they want. Now, the other question is for you guys in the States, because NXT is still going to be on CW, SmackDown is still going to be on USA for the foreseeable. Are we going to get it? Is the rest of the world going to get it on Netflix in real time? And are you guys still going to get the pre-taped show? I don't know, but
I think it's going to be all real time. Like it's going to be first shown live, and then you can watch the on demand right after. Yeah. From what I'm hearing, like if you tune in at 9:10, you can start it over, but you can't fast forward to the end.
On Netflix, yes, but I'm saying like, what is USA Network? Because USA Network isn't going to say, okay, go ahead and put your show wherever you want.
Yeah, no.
So USA Network still has that 8 to 10 time slot to fill.
Yeah, so what are they going to do is the question.
I think they'll still put it there at the regular North American time, and you'll just be able to find it.
Just play the delayed version of it.
As soon as this stuff goes to Netflix, man, though, I said it to you before, and I'm saying it again, I'm pretty sure most of the states are just going to get a VPN and watch like Canadian Netflix.
I believe it anyways. And it shouldn't even have to be out of the states, to be honest with you. I hate that part of it.
Yeah.
It is a bit ass backwards to be handling it like such, but
they have contracts to film, right?
Which I get. Yeah, I get there's contract, but it still sucks as a wrestling fan, as a TV fan, as all of it.
Oh yeah. No.
It's just very cumbersome for no reason.
Well, it's like when the network first rolled out and you guys got it first, and then
we were the guinea pigs.
The UK had to wait like forever, like
years.
For a year and a bit more to get. I
thought it was like 2 years.
Maybe something like that. But so the time shift will be interesting. It all gets back to the initial conversation of what does WWE look like on Netflix. I'm almost tempted to watch because there's not a whole lot of live stuff on Netflix right now anyways. I'm almost tempted to watch the Jake Paul Tyson or Mike Tyson
on
thing.
Friday. Yeah, my father-in-law is coming to watch that because he can't figure out his own Netflix, so he's coming to our house for it.
And it's one of those, like, I don't care about that fight, but it's just show me what
Tyson. I used to watch Tyson fight when I was a kid. Yeah. I remember I bet on the game that Holyfield won where he bit him in the ear.
Yeah.
And everybody had, Tyson winning. I'm like, nope, Holyfield's going to win in the third. And I took it, but since it was a DQ, my friend's mom never gave me like the winnings, and I was still to this day pissed off on that. I'll hold it forever. Oh, you're a kid, you can't win. Well, then why'd you take my money? Here's your $10 back, you bitch.
No, but I'm looking at it from I've never been a boxing fan. I'm not really ever watched UFC either, other than when Punk had like his couple of fights. But like I'm almost tempted to tune into that just for a second or two, just to see what Netflix looks like when it's live.
Yeah, you should check it out because we used to be big into the UFC here.
Yeah.
And the ESPN Plus streams are not great. They leave a lot to be desired, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm just saying from the example of like I've got Prime. Prime has some live stuff on it. Crave has some live stuff on it. What's the other one? Disney Plus has experimented with some live stuff. It's literally like a functional show me the mechanics, show me what Netflix looks like live before I tune in for the first thing to go live on Netflix anywhere that's not the US is actually going to be SmackDown.
Yeah, go figure.
So
be Raw.
We'll be tuning into to that, but I want to know what it looks like. It's one of those simple maybe you hear about a match.
I think it's just going to be very straightforward, very easy. Easy on the eyes. I think that's their goal.
We've already got the reminders popping up on the upcoming content, whatever you want to call it. Like, hey, watch for this upcoming show, and then it's got a description of Monday Night Raw, but the description is like describing a TV show story. It's kind of weird. I think they're probably going to rewrite it eventually.
I'm sure they will eventually. They edited the network 150,000 times. So.
Well, they're going to re-edit it every Monday and every Tuesday and every Friday and every pay-per-view.
Regardless.
That's exactly. Later on down the line, we're going to have to get into the conversation of, do those 3 shows stay on their designated nights?
Yeah, we're going to see how that works out.
WWE could do something really funny.
And as of now, I mean, it's kind of unset, so...
Yeah. If they just, like, random... I know you can't do it because SmackDown is still tied to USA Network for now, but just do SmackDown on Wednesday.
Yeah,
just
it would be awesome
flip Tony the Bird.
And show them what competition really is.
Yeah, well, it's not competition. It'll be an ass-kicking like it was this week. But,
if SmackDown or Raw went to a different night on Wednesday, that would be the death nail for AEW, because they proved it this week. Like we said before, is a point that I wanted to make. We did prove the fact that if people have a choice between AEW and NXT, or WWE NXT, if you want to put it that way, they're choosing NXT over AEW. Because AEW's viewership was also down lower because people had to choose which one they wanted to watch live.
Yep.
And that's why not only was WWE's up, we were on the wrong night and up against another special. And
the last two, what do you want to call it? Like the last 2 times we've gone head to head and won. The latest excuse, along with the cheating, obviously, because the cheating is definitely happening, was, we had to go to a different night. It's a handicap for us. Da 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 da. Okay, we went to Wednesday night and we got you.
Yeah, don't you move.
Not by much. Like I say, I'm not throwing off fireworks for this particular victory like I was for the other ones, because I don't think it's a gigantic explosion of a victory this time around. I really don't. But it's still a victory.
It still counts.
But yeah, the other thing too is apparently the push pretty much already settled on is that both Raw and SmackDown will be 3 hours when it goes to Netflix. I don't know how that factors into the TV deals that are still remaining, but
that leaves a lot of questions unanswered too, sadly.
But it might explain our next piece, because I'm gonna move the topics around on the show map a little bit here. It might explain why Mr. Nick Aldis came out on SmackDown and gave us a long overdue, in my opinion, piece of information. That we will, in fact, have a women's U.S. title on SmackDown.
Yeah, we're getting, finally, after all this time, women's mid-card title. Now, it seems like both shows are going to be getting one, which I think could be overkill. I mean, they really needed this, in my eyes, instead of 2 world champions, but they have enough talent for the mid-card right now. I don't know if they need 2 mid-card titles for the women. That gets a bit...
I think they're going to. I think I'll be honest with you. I think that they're going to roll it. Remember when they rolled out the new WWE titles, the new world titles?
Yes.
One show did one, then the other. Then one show did one, then the other. Then they did the tag titles, and then the other show did the other.
It seems to be that format again.
I do, and people are saying, we've had this conversation before. We've had this conversation in NXT before. Oh, why couldn't they do something creative with the belts? Why is it just the same? That's so lazy. No. I'm sorry, in my opinion, it might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but keeping the designs exactly the same is a visual representation of we are treating the women the same as we treat the men. Are they there yet? Absolutely not. But it's a big visual statement of intent that this is one U.S. champion, this is the other U.S. champion. Think of them on the same level. And I think that's important. Because a lot of people were like, oh my god, this week of all weeks you made a women's title with a U.S. flag on it. It's like, first of all, fuck off with the politics.
Yeah.
Everybody's sick of it. Second of all, people were like, oh, it should have been the some kind of Statue of Liberty thing on the belt. And it's like, so you just want something that says it's a chick belt. Do you want the butterfly back?
Yeah.
Do you want the old NXT title with the pink jewels on it?
Because that's what you're asking for here.
That's what you're asking for. And it's like, is it particularly exciting because they're the same? No. But at the same time, parity is a thing, representation is a thing, side by side equality is a thing. And WWE, NXT is different. NXT's kicking ass with the women's division. The main roster needs to step up, and you need to keep that shit as equal as possible. And if that means it's not as flashy or not as new looking, sorry, other things have to take precedent in that.
Yeah, sorry, this is not our, not our dealing, not our fault.
Now, I'm not going to have us talk about who we think might be the champion tonight, because I'm going to ask you live on the air next week sometime. We'll sit down and do a fantasy, not a fantasy booking, but a fantasy choosing. We'll take like 5 wrestlers each who we think might be the next women's mid-card title holder.
Or going for them, yeah.
But by next week, we're also going to know if there's a women's Intercontinental champion as well. So that piece of the puzzle.
And if there's a tournament, like you said, we'll find out.
But more so, just I want to know if there's a second belt, how they're going to get there. It's lame and it's lazy, but if they just do a battle royal to quickly crown a first one, and then we can start building contenders for it, I think that might work. Or whatever. At least don't do it the same. Have one show. Say we want to get right to the point, battle royal, let's go right now, everybody in the ring. And the other show says, no, we're gonna take it a different way. We're gonna do a tournament. We're gonna do a gauntlet. We're gonna do sets of triple threat matches that they like to do a lot of the time. But in general, a question of who potentially deserves to be the mid-card champion, because the mid-card, the part of the problem on the main roster is so many of the women on the roster are mid-carders, and I say that respectfully, that it's no surprise they're not in the main event picture, so they have nothing to go for. So this is going to fix that problem, because not everybody, not saying talent-wise, but not everybody in their current guise is ready for a world title, and that's what a title like this is supposed to mean. Kalani Jordan is your blueprint. Braun Breaker is your blueprint. LA Knight, blueprint. But each one of them right now, like there's big jack dudes surrounding Braun Breaker for his title right now. The big 10-woman tag on NXT largely started with Kalani Jordan fighting 3 different people that wanted her Women's North American Championship. Look at the Carmelo and Andrade series of matches that has surrounded the idea of getting your hands on LA Knight once again. You have a portion of the roster that is not served because they're kind of fighting for a spot that didn't have a prize. Now it has a prize.
Yeah, exactly.
So next week we'll pick, and it won't be brand specific. We'll just look at the roster in general. Who do you think could use a shot at a mid-card title? Who should potentially be a first of X, Y, or Z title? The other rumor is, obviously, with the stacked women's roster in NXT, that there's going to be a wave of women's
new talent.
Specifically a wave of women's call-ups as we go into the Netflix era, because introducing 2 new belts and introducing 2 more hours of television a week, you can flesh that out. There will be time for the women's Intercontinental division. There will be time for the women's U.S. division. Whereas the title, the time, and the talent, hey, look at that, all have to kind of land at the same time.
That was truly, totally terrific.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I got my own alliteration, bitch.
Speaking of talent that we might want to pick up, look at that transition. Once again, I'm on the ball tonight.
You're nailing it. You're spearing it home.
I know a lot of this had to do with Dynamite this week that I didn't watch, so you're going to have to explain to me the bullshit that happened on AEW Dynamite this week. What's your take on the whole Aleister Black situation right now?
That was very bizarre. So he gets his ass beat, puts his hand out like he's retiring, and then he sat down at the end to be like, kill me, murder me, take me out. And that really kind of wasn't the story they were telling with Adam Cole, especially now that since Roderick Strong won, now we have both of them together, not in a handicap match taking on MJF, but in a triple threat. So now it's every man for themselves, so everybody feels like Roddy's going to turn. It's just very convoluted, messy, and lacking really any sense of, like, revenge urgency. Like, you figured MJF, a bastard as he is, everybody would want to murder him, but these guys are more caring about getting these silly wins, when even that seemed a bit inflated, Like, Nothing really feels grand. Nothing feels big right now. MJF is off filming a movie, so
everything's pre-taped in his little fucking
with his
in his rec room there.
Lime green tan that he has at this point. I mean, he looks like he covered himself in I don't even want to say it. Never mind. But we only look up blue waffles here. Still, I genuinely don't know what they're going for with that story, and it's just a total mess that is a convoluted nightmare of a headache for trying to, untangle the web that Tony has spun, because the whole devil thing doesn't make sense now, and the storylines they took from away from that, and that's been a huge issue. They have these big moments on Dynamite. Samoa Joe gets put through a wall by Jericho. With the forklift. He's one of your own brother in there, and he knocks him through the wall, and what happens? Nothing. Swerve gets his house set on fire, and there's never repercussions, because they just take these angles and either forget them or sweep them under the rug so that you cannot remember them. And, I mean, Tony Khan got attacked and put in a neck brace for what? What was Jack Perry's, comeuppance? What kind of revenge did Tony get? Now you got Moxley running around with the company while the Hurt Business is supposed to be the ones taking over. So that a lot of it leaves you scratching your head. It feels like you have 10 different 5-year-olds all booking. Then the big guy hits a strong guy and he does 6 flips. And well, if your guy does 6 flips, my guy does 7 flips. That kind of booking. And that's exactly what it feels like. Like I said, a room full of children. If you do 7 flips, then my guy does 8 because my guy's better than your guy. Look. That's how they book the match.
Throw down an Uno reverse card out of nowhere.
Don't say those words. But yeah, I'm just gloated to see.
I'm just
going to
give you a 2-minute shtick on every state of wrestling and just be like, Jake, what's going on in AEW today?
Yeah, because at this point there wasn't anything grand or worth watching, and that was really depressing because NXT was so much fun, and the element of being in the 2300 didn't outshine the show of NXT.
No.
They didn't need the angle just added to it. It was whipped cream on your Sunday. If you don't get whipped cream, it's not going to ruin your day. Being in the 2300 arena just added to everything, and having the legends come in from ECW was fun fanfare, but they did it in a way that fit in the parameters of the TV show, so it never felt over-intrusive or obnoxious.
They don't even have to necessarily do it as an ECW tribute show again, but I would like to see them run that building again.
Yeah, they can do it, even if a once-a-year thing. Like you said, it doesn't have to be an all-out tribute, but they could still honor ECW while in there. Instead, we're getting Dynamite. We're like I said, MVP's opening up with the Hurt Syndicate, and I sound like a hypocrite at times, but I hate when people go from one company to the next without reinventing themselves. And they're like, oh, well, Cody didn't reinvent himself. Yes, he did. He totally changed how he was a babyface in WWE compared to what he did in AEW. AEW, he wanted to be this, cool, trendy, towing the line babyface where you guys could see him as a badass, but really he's a cool guy. He's a good guy, so he could still go out and cheer, kids and kiss babies and all that
Wants
stuff.
Wants to go smash the throne.
Exactly. That side of Cody coming out. Point. The petty, vindictive. We don't see that anymore. The petulant undertones.
Here's my point with that, and I do agree with you. I mean, it's going to happen to a certain degree. Wrestling is a little bit more real. If Edge went over to AEW and all of a sudden was Eric Saber, the Juggernaut, or something like that, people would be like, no, it's Edge, fuck off. You're gonna still be the same person, because we're at the point now where both companies still both companies acknowledge now, and WWE was bad for this for a while. People knew who you were before you got here. We're not going to change it. What kills me, and I'm sorry that I've said this before, and I'm going to drive it into the ground, MVP and Bobby Lashley left WWE, shit all over the Hurt Business thing. They said it was racist. Fans that wanted it to come back were racist. What are you trying to do? Just lump all the people that look together in the same group and all that, da-da-da-da. If they hadn't buried it, it wouldn't be so hypocritical that they're doing exactly the same thing in Tony Khan's sandbox.
But see, that's what I hate too, because like the Maximum Male Models, and I mean, there was Sean Spears came in, he was a chairman, he was something different. Like, oh, he brought that angle to NXT, but he also changed elements of it. He was a face, not a heel.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like it's already a discussion to have, and you brought good light to it. I'm just saying it doesn't bother me as much because there is an element of realism to it. In their case, the hypocrisy is, oh my God, this was so bad, this was so offensive, this was such a slap in the face that we're going to do the exact same thing over here. That's the part of it that bugs me. You're going to bring over similar character traits. The Hardys are the Hardys pretty much everywhere.
I guess that's what I was trying to get out, though. It wasn't just character traits. It was the fact that they would shit on the creative and then come across as, oh, this is great now because I'm over here to do it. And that's what's upsetting with the Hurt Business. You nailed it. You helped me finish that thought, and that's the problem.
It's the hypocrisy of it for me.
Yeah, they're saying, oh, we can never reach our full potential elsewhere. Bullshit. Bobby Lashley was the champion.
Bobby Lashley took down Brock Lesnar. And other than Roman Reigns, who was bigger than Brock Lesnar at the time? Like, nobody.
Exactly. No one. Not a single person.
It's like, oh, people...
He even destroyed Kofi in 6 seconds, and here people were like, oh, and then Lashley beat the hell out of him to the point where they had to separate him.
It's like, I talked about John Cena in the era where he was hated, where literally he did beat everybody. Now people are like, oh, he hasn't changed at all. I'm like, bullshit. The last 2 people he put over are Solo Sikoa and Austin Theory. Like,
exactly.
For real.
It hasn't changed my ass.
He let them skewer his entire career to do the Firefly Funhouse match. Now, granted, creatively, that was an amazing thing in general. But he had to be okay.
From top to bottom,
he had to be okay with
destroyed him. Yeah,
he had to be okay with them basically slaughtering his whole career. So, like, yes, things were. It's like a lot of things in WWE. Yes, they were bad. And if I hear one more, and it's still out there on Twitter, I think it was trending actually earlier this week. If I hear one more time about the ghost of Vince, fuck off. It is what it is.
Yeah, the ghost of Vince that haunts us all.
My question coming out of that, and the reason why I started with the Aleister Black thing is,
yes,
would you be interested in him coming back to WWE?
Yes, I would, because I think he's one of the people that there really is a larger story to tell that they haven't been able to tap into. And it's not just, spooky man bad. I think they could do some really dark, methodical, crazy shit, because some of the stuff that he was trying to achieve when Vince still had him, like you're picking a fight and the Dark Master, remember he had like the puppets and he was telling the story, and then we got nothing. They just dropped him. So I think there is this level of creative that he has and bestows. Like when he came into the company, he's had that thing with his eye. That happened in NXT and main roster, essentially. And he's been having that injury plague and follow him since. Mm-hmm. Even his entrance song is called Ugentrust. And whatever, I think it's German, but whatever language that is, it means like a medicine used to cure an eye disease. Like he's on like the 3rd plane of existence when it comes to Easter eggs with his everything. You know, he's got things. Everything's intentional with him.
And the fact that it's happened in more than one company means it's an individual credit, not something that somebody came up with in a
it's not a booking machines thing. And Bray wasn't a booking machine idea either. That came from Dusty and him.
Here's my thing, right? Not only do I want him, or I hope he comes back to WWE, there is the angle as well of his partner is also in WWE, but that shouldn't necessarily drive everything. I think you bring him back to WWE, tell whatever stories you want to tell, do whatever cool character stuff you want to do, because he does have that cool thing. Like, I don't want to make an Undertaker comparison, but like in Undertaker's later years, he was spooky guy, and then when he got into the ring, he was almost a boxer.
Yeah.
Like, I know, I'm not literally, but you get what I mean. It's the same with Aleister Black. He comes out and he does all, like, the culty, spooky, lights out, face paint and all that. And then he's, like, a kickboxer, basically, when he's in the ring. So,
and he's got those dangerous feet that can be legitimate and can actually be, done to use as a weapon. Yep. So what I get upset with is
one foot went to Harvard, 1 foot went to Yale. Isn't that the thing? The educated feet.
Exactly. And instead we don't get to see that side of him. That like when he came in kicking off Arn and Cody's head, he was the biggest deal. Oh my God, you're all fucked was basically the attitude. Yep.
And the thing is now, because people are saying he might come back to WWE, you see how people are like now telling this narrative of, oh well, they should get rid of him. He never wants to lose to anybody. Well, nobody wants to lose to anybody unless your name's Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you expecting here?
Here's my thing. Because not only do I want to come back, not only do I want him to come back for obvious reasons, I'm a big fan and I'd like to see him on a better show. I think now that Dolph Ziggler isn't there anymore, you put him in the Ziggler position. He's not quite in the world title picture, but he is the absolute gatekeeper of the upper mid card.
Yeah.
Because he could have a match like him and Finn Balor, for example. Him and Sami Zayn.
Him and anybody was always
Kevin
a good
Owens.
match. Him and Finn Balor tore the house down.
Him and Carmelo.
Yeah.
Him and Andrade have had great matches.
And you can make him have like an actual spotlight here, where it's like, oh no, he's gonna be a huge challenge. Like, not everybody beats him. I want him to be like another mid-card final boss, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sorry to say, because he has been a world champion, but Kofi Kingston.
Yes.
Not a world title person in my mind. Tippy top, like we say, gatekeeper of the mid card. Whatever show Kofi Kingston is on, you put Alistair.
Kofi Mania was great, Spaz, but Kofi's reign following sucked.
Exactly.
That was worse than dealing with Jinder Mahal. His reign sucked.
And then they wonder why he lost to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. No believable heels to go against him. Everybody treated him like he was Superman's Jesus, answer to everything, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And
we know why. We don't need to talk about why.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
they just played it up so hard that it wasn't fun to watch him win.
Not from a story point of view, but if you're thinking about just putting a show together and who's in that like second to top spot, like we say we say it all the time, like the gatekeeper to the main event. Whatever show Kofi is on, you put Aleister Black on the other one.
Yeah.
And you make sure they always look strong so that when they get beat it matters. So whoever beat them becomes the believable contender to the title. I think for a long time, and I thought Miz would be this after Ziggler left, but Miz has gone a slightly different direction. I think the long empty spot left by Dolph Ziggler, Aleister Black is the perfect guy because he's got the character, he's got all the cool stuff for people like you and me that like the spooky, the macabre, whatever. There's that element.
And he can sink into deep story for the lore fanatics.
Yep, but like there's that story. There's all the character stuff as well. But like you don't want to have oh my god, look at this great, wonderful, awesome character, and then the bell rang because he's not an and then the bell rang guy.
No, and he can deliver exactly. So
and he'd be more appreciated. Like he would like. Oh, when on Dynamite, trust me, I'd love to see Buddy Matthews back, and I'd love to have Brody King over on our side as well. But it's like, they're a group, and they just sort of like wishy-washy in and out of the tag team scene. The kind of spotlight that this version of WWE would put on an Aleister Black, because they don't, like, Finn Balor's not really being the demon right now. I mean, R.I.P., we don't have Bray Wyatt anymore. We have the Wyatt 6, which is another group thing, but as far as one single person carrying the lantern for the, like, this is our spooky guy, this is our culty guy, creepy guy, intimidating guy for this generation, we don't have that singular guy right now. Aleister Black filling that role and filling the gatekeeper role at the same time, 100% bring him back.
Exactly, and he'll make it there better than most people would actually make it anywhere else because of the talents he has. Mm-hmm. And I do think WWE is one to foster those talents and really give him the best chance at a real legitimate story right now. We've had the House of Black there for 4 years, I think, altogether. Seems like maybe
I don't even remember.
Roughly 3.5, 4, somewhere around there. I know it was before Cody left, so...
All I remember about that is him going to AEW and then everybody being pissed off that Zelina didn't. Like, she doesn't exist on her own as an individual that can make decisions.
Yeah, no, they wanted her to, follow suit.
Well, they wanted her to come over and be the manager for Andrade again.
Yeah, and then they had her in Puerto Rico get that title defense, which she said was the best moment of her life, and she was so glad she re-signed, and that was the best thing that ever happened to her. Good thing she didn't miss out on that, huh?
I don't know, man. Well,
I mean, they made her look like a star there. You can't tell me otherwise.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Puerto Rico show, what was that? It was basically for her, for Damian Priest, and for Bad Bunny. Everybody else was there. Everybody else played their part, but, like, we knew who was getting the rightfully deserved podiums at that point because they weren't necessarily... I mean, Damian Priest was going to have a podium anyway, but Zelina Vega, week to week, WWE doesn't always do right by her. But at least in an appropriate night to be her night And against Rhea Ripley as well, like the female David and Goliath story they had going on was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the bottom of the show notes, it says random question.
Yes.
Because I'm a dick.
Yeah.
So, been saying for a while now that the last victory that WWE can realistically score on AEW is main eventing a WrestleMania with CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes.
Which would be incredible.
I am going pretty much against everybody else on the internet because I don't think Punk should be the heel in that scenario.
I don't think Punk should be the heel either.
I want to see...
Cody can be a very interesting heel, by the way.
Because exactly. This is what I want to see. Apparently, I missed out on a lot of really cool Cody heel stuff when he was doing his independent run. He was in the Bullet Club at one point, wasn't he?
Yes. Bullet Club is fine came from him, and he was like taking over, but not. They thought, everybody thought he was going to steal Bullet Club from them, and they kept saying, no, Bullet Club is fine.
The whole idea that CM Punk is going to be the heel in that scenario is based on the fact that in real life, people think that the fans are eventually going to turn on CM Punk.
Yes.
When they don't realize that people in the WWE fandom specifically, and yes, there's lots of crossover between both companies. I keep an eye on the Mud Show. It's fine. But people that are strictly in the WWE bubble and know that's not a bad thing, if that's how you choose to digest your wrestling, do you know how long WWE fans waited to have CM Punk back?
I know.
Do you know how, even when he's being a dick, this is the guy that symbolically poured out Paul Bearer's ashes in front of the Undertaker after what's Paul Bearer's real name?
Ivan Mooney.
Yeah,
right?
something Mooney actually passed away. And yeah, he got the shock and awe, but he still got cheered. He still had fans. He came out wrestling at that year's WrestleMania in Undertaker colors and still had people cheering for him. Like, the people that like CM Punk will cheer him for being a good guy and cheer him for being an asshole. I don't want the fans to turn on Cody. I've come around on Cody, as you and I have talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
I want them to not turn on him, but kind of get sick of him. Sort of like a Cena, sort of like his run in AEW, where it's like, okay, you're great, but what are we kind of doing here? Like, Punk's over here like a big firework, and you're kind of just like one of those little worms we light that grow along the sidewalk. That was a shitty metaphor. I'm sorry.
Hey, it worked.
I want to see how deep into the heel mode Cody Rhodes can go with the WWE machine behind him. And I want to see babyface voice of, like, pissed off, bitter, anti-hero babyface.
Cody.
Like, I don't want him to be, coming out there and smiling and welcoming us to Monday Night Raw every week. But I want him to be the kind of guy who's an asshole who will turn on anybody at any given moment, like Austin at his prime type thing, babyface, against a heel Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania.
That would be something.
And I've not heard anybody else say it. I've mentioned it to a couple of people, and they're like, yeah, but they won't do it. And I'm like, if your initial reaction is, yeah, but they won't do it, you should probably do it.
Exactly.
Because
you're just naming that they, obviously...
You're just doing a thing.
What people want to see, yeah.
I would rather... Because a lot of wrestling, a lot of WWE with the coherent storytelling and the long-term storytelling, that's actually a thing, Tony, sorry, but it is, has made it so that awesome things come, and we can kind of see where WWE's going. So it's like, oh, I bet the awesome thing is going to happen, and then the awesome thing happens. And it's awesome. Awesome. It's fantastic. Anyway, but it's not the same as, holy fuck, where did that come from?
No, exactly. And I know I have to go in a minute, but one quick question I had for you in return.
Yes.
Because that was more of a statement, but no, I do agree. Are you, maybe less concerned, but worried in any sake, that the addition of this women's title means that they're going to call NXT women up sooner? Do you really think that's going to be...
they're calling up a wave. Yeah.
You think it's just going to... But is it going to hurt the women? I don't think it'll hurt the women's division, but I think it'll be noticeable.
Here's the thing. NXT got a bunch of main eventers already. Like, they're getting Jordan Grace. Let's be real for a second.
Yeah, that's one of those any day now type feelings.
Well, I think it's first week in January we're going to hear about it. But
not far from
she's
now.
there. You got Zarya. You got Julia, you've got Stephanie Vacour, you've still got Roxanne Perez. These are all main eventers. These are not mid-carders by any stretch of the imagination, and they're not there to be mid-carders. So instead, take that big, it's horrible terminology, but that big beefy mid-card of women and let them be mid-carders on mid-carders on the main roster and bulk out, because the same thing is true on the main roster. Like, we know who our main characters are on the main roster.
Yeah,
beef up that mid-card. Even
if you,
I'll use one example, because one of the people that I would love to see be in the running to get that title, spoiler for next week, somebody like a Chelsea Green, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you beef up that women's mid-card on the main roster, and she has a run with that title for a long time, if you hold a title for a year, but your division only has 5 people in it, that doesn't mean as much as, okay, I held the belt for 6 months with 20 hungry people at my heels.
20 main eventers, that kind of idea. 20 close to main eventers.
So take out NXT from the middle. Take out maybe your Fallon Henleys, your JC Janes, your even somebody funny like
Kalani Jordan. I would say would be a good
Kalani
pick,
Jordan. Somebody more comical like an Ariana Grace versus Chelsea Green would be great. But yeah, I wouldn't usually say take them from the middle because you want the top people to ascend. But I mean, if you took Stephanie Vacour to the main roster tomorrow and then you give her the U.S. title instead of the main title, people that have been following her for a long time are going to come back and say, "Is this how you see her?"
Yeah.
Rather than if you take up a JC Jane who's never held a singles title and she gets into the contention against, say, a Chelsea Green, the opposite would happen. Oh, this is how you see her.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Because the problem with Chelsea, even is that we still have her in the women's tag team picture.
Yep.
With Piper and Niven, there's a lot now we have to worry about the women's tag division as well as the women's mid card as well as the women's main title. So it gets tricky.
I think one of the things that's going to happen is it won't be the Meta 2 because I think the Meta 2 are pretty much main roster now.
Yeah, it seems like they're out.
I think somebody else from NXT will grab the women's tag titles for a while to sort of take them off the table for a little bit because they are the 3 branded belts. I think if they're introducing 2 mid-card titles on the main roster, they'll sweep the tag titles into NXT with a roster that's big enough to handle those tag titles and allow the focus to be on those belts until they're established. And I do think that's the bonus of the tag titles being across all 3 shows.
Certainly.
You can shift them off whatever show feels crowded to whatever show needs them. And I mean, whoever's the champion can show up on any show anyway, so it's not like you're even making a drastic change. Just have the next the next 3 or 4 contenders all be NXT teams, so that those matches happen on NXT.
Which makes sense. So.
And if you notice the last pay-per-view and this pay-per-view, if you look at the logos for Deadline and for Halloween Havoc, they announced it as being NXT Halloween Havoc. They announced it as being NXT Deadline. If you look at the logo says WWE Deadline and WWE Halloween Havoc. So they're NXT shows, but the branding makes me think, okay, are they trying to homogenize them a little bit so that maybe elevate them so that they're seen as being on the same level, but at the same time,
what if they got rid of it entirely, Spaz? What if they got rid of NXT and it just became a third brand essentially? NXT as we know it. My point.
I think
I wouldn't be a fan of it, but
here's the thing.
I can certainly see why.
Like Raw and SmackDown are pretty fluid at this point. They have enough of a different identity. Like the Judgment Day happens on Raw, the Bloodline happens on SmackDown for now. Cody shows up on SmackDown, CM Punk shows up on Raw. They have different identities that way. NXT, as integrated as they are, still feels like a separate show, and that is the appeal of NXT within WWE's fandom at this point. I do think you have to be careful with that, because if it becomes like, instead of NXT, it's like WWE Raw, WWE SmackDown, WWE Next, it loses something. It would still have the same quality, it would still have the same booking behind it, it would still have the best women's division in all of North American pro wrestling.
It's just but
you lose something, and it's that little something, and you never know what's going to tip people one way or the other. I don't know.
I don't. That makes it right now.
I don't like it. I hope they fix it by next year. But a lot of things are going to be fixed by next year, because once we hit the Netflix era, the cuffs are off.
Oh, I thought there was a MAGA reference. Jeez.
Oh.
Giggity.
We're going to make pro wrestling great again. We're going to get rid of that bum Tony Khan. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, you know, Spaz, they can find me again on Twitter. Can you believe it? They can finally find me on Twitter.
You can speak and everything.
I can talk. I got through my customer service.
Jake
they fixed my tweet.
Countdown Ended on X. He can actually respond to you now. Go check out his channel on YouTube where we're doing all the live stuff. I'm going to have some more announcements for that type of live stuff coming up in the next week hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and you know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Jake. This has been the State of Wrestling. He's Super Sexy Jake. I already said that. I'm your YWC Reality Check. I already said that. Subscribe up there. Talk down there. Start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Super Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
What Wednesday Night War?